Hockney's only in his London studio because he needed to catch up with Rudolf Nureyev, also in London. They're collaborating on a new ballet of Satie's Parade. Hockney's designing the set and costumes. It's California that's been his favourite home ever since he fell in love with it on his first visit 17 years ago.
I get bored in England. You always feel you can never do anything or you can't change anything. That's the way I feel. In America, I always feel freer. Also, I always feel, in California anyway, I start using brighter colours and I paint broader. And instead of painting like that, I paint like that more, which seems to be better for me, I think.
While you've been in England on this trip, you've been doing something rather illegal, or should I say illicit, down at the National Gallery, haven't you?
Well, I thought I'd try and get the National Gallery and the Tate Gallery to let anybody take photographs in there. Seeing I went in last week and took some pictures quite illegally in the National Gallery, and I think the way I do it myself, or anybody else does it themselves, can do it better than the postcards they sell. And I assume the only reason they never let you do it is because they want to sell their postcards. But it isn't the National Postcard Stand, is it? It's the National Gallery. I mean, I understand you can't use flash and things like that, but I thought my pictures were just as good, if not better. And these were all taken with a tiny little camera.
Hockney's always been irreverent about the British art establishment. From a working-class background in Bradford, he was something of an intruder on the smart Bond Street art scene. Ever since he appeared at his first one-man show in a gold lame suit, Hockney's dyed hair, his boyfriends, and his sheer popularity have made more headlines than his talent. But he is, in fact, a brilliant draftsman whose precise technique and careful observation put him firmly in the classical tradition of drawing. The dress designer, Celia Birtwell, is a favourite model in the Tate show. One of the few girls, he says, that I know really well.
She's a very amusing and lively girl, and she's a very good model. She's a turn-on. Sometimes she's moody. Sometimes she says, I'm off her, when she looks at the drawings, if she thinks they were terrible. You know, if you draw somebody you don't know, you tend to struggle for a likeness. You think maybe it should look like them, and you don't quite know what the people look like, really. And whereas friends, you learn slowly, you know, they have many faces in a way. And when I draw people I know well, in a way I don't bother about a likeness. It always is there somehow. Whatever mood they were in, or you were in, I mean, it's about them and you, of course. Water, the idea of drawing water is always appealing to me. If it's clear water, anyway, transparent water, you can look on it, through it, into it, see it as volume, see it as surface. I mean, there's a lot of different things, which, of course, you can't do that with a floor or a wall. And the idea of representing it has always rather fascinated me, and I keep going back to it.
From your very first one-man show, you weren't just recognised as a good artist by the critics and by other artists. You also attracted a very broad public who sometimes were people who wouldn't look at the work of other artists at all. Why do you think you've always been, in that sense, popular?
I tend to think it's a bit overrated. People have made too much of it, really. I think that's my opinion. I mean, I try and I work away, but I think it's not as good. My art is not as good as some people think. It's not as bad as some people think as well, but I have my own rating, really. I place myself in some context.
And where do you place yourself? How good do you think you are?
Well, I assume I will get better. I assume the best work is yet to come.